Hey everyone, Timmy Two-Tone here. So I've got a really fun historic brawl deck that I've built and have been tinkering with. This thing destroys the traditional curve and also the occasional opponent. The overall win rate is decent, but it's not about winning as many games as possible. The ways this deck achieves victory are spectacular, unconventional, and loads of fun. I want to apologize if you hear some background noise. I'm just recording this on my iPhone. I even recorded these clips on my phone, and I didn't realize early on that the audio wasn't getting recorded. So I'll try to do some voiceover, and you'll hear Rosie going ham in the background. And yeah, as you can see, like I was saying, all these 6 and 7 plus drops looks kind of strange with the curve peaking at the end, but there's lots of ways to get these cards into the graveyard and then back out onto the battlefield. Anyway, like I said, it wins some of the time, but it's a lot of fun when it does. So we're going to start out against a mill deck. Yeah, opening hand, I have access to all my colors. It is, however, a very awkward start. I'll have to get lucky and draw some lands. Specifically, I'll need blue for my counter/draw spell. I don't want to mulligan down and be worse off. Plus, I'm playing against a Brewback deck, and I have spells in here to recur creatures that get milled, so let's rock it. So he starts out with a pretty awesome little versatile artifact. Not sure what he's going to want to do with that. I just play my tap land. And we are waiting on him. He doesn't do anything, so sure, just come up with another tap land. And see if he does anything on the end step. I think he could draw a card, and he does draw a card. Good call, buddy. Okay, so he's at 2. I think he just Brewback comes out here. So anything that he mills me while Brewback is on the battlefield is going to mill me for twice as much. Which, like I said, I don't mind the mill, but I don't want to get milled out. This could get pretty crazy pretty quick. There's a couple cards in there that'll combo with Brewback and just make you mill your entire deck right away. So we place this Occultist here. When it dies, I mill some cards and I take 1 damage. Couple of lucky draws so far. I could play my Hostage Taker and try to exile one of those. Whenever you exile their commander, they can just take it back to the command zone, so that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to hold up a couple mana here for that versatile spell. So if he was to cast something crazy huge, I could counter it, but also the draw 2, discard 2 is pretty awesome. So since it goes to end step, I'm going to go with that mode. Learn their secrets. So I'll draw 2 cards, which is great, and in this deck it gives me the ability to discard 2. I'm going to put Azor because he's kind of the first creature I want to recur, and unfortunately I'm going to pitch Kiora, Best the Sea Gods, whatever it's called. Awesome card, but late game, and this game here doesn't seem like it's going to need it. So now I've got another land, an Esper Sentinel, just on the draw. I'm going to try to take out a counter spell because I want to get the Hostage Taker off before I can start getting milled a ton. And he goes for it, Thought Collapse, so it's going to mill 3 but make it 6 with the Brewback. That's fine. I'll check out what's in there in a minute. Pay 2 for the Watery Grave so I can Hostage Taker and get his Brewback off the battlefield. And now I've got a 2/3 body which can jump, trade, or whatever you call it, bounce off of that Occultist. So we're in a pretty good position. I've got some recursion spells that I can bring back Azor. And the cool thing about him is that he prevents the opponent from casting an instant or sorcery on their next turn. So he kind of protects himself, at least on that opponent's next turn. So we draw the Stitcher, awesome card in this deck, being that it can draw a discard, but also he can sack himself to bring the creature back. So yeah, like I'm going to go for the Azor. That's the obvious choice to me. It gave it haste too with that recursion spell, which is pretty awesome. Can't spend for any of that stuff. Hit him for 6, and then yeah, like I said, he cannot cast like a bounce spell or anything, any instant or sorcery right now on his turn. So he's going to go with a creature spell, I would assume, or an enchantment or something. Waiting for his decision. He's looking at another creature. So Sage Rose Denizen. Whenever another blue creature enters, I will mill. So that's not a big deal until another blue card comes down. He's not really threatening. Plus I've got the 6 in the air, unblockable at the moment. If there's anything else in my graveyard, which there is, I think we're gonna go for the Dream Eater. So I'm not gonna get lethal this turn, so it's good to think about not getting milled next turn as much as the Sage Row Denizen would do. So I'm gonna bounce the Sage Row Denizen, and I'll put the Toxrill in the graveyard in case it gets that late. I don't think it will. Dot Seize would be an awesome next play just to slow this guy down. So we bounce this guy here and just swing for the 6. Pretty much over now as far as I can remember. I mean, what's he gonna do, right? Looks like he kind of got mana screwed as well. And there's the scoop. Awesome. Well, let's move on to game 2. So game 2, here we are. Kind of crazy, but I've played this deck enough to know that an opener like this can work. The main thing is I have all 3 colors, so I do keep knowing that I'll need to draw both lands and hopefully a way to discard Zetalpa. So coming out with a black. Turn 2 looking like just an Arcane Signet. This is a Kethis deck that I'm playing against here, so that's kind of scary. He can do a lot with those legendary creatures. I can't remember if it's also legendary planeswalkers, just legendary spells in general. So I miss a land drop, but the Obsessive Stitcher can come out, and he is going to do some work for me here. If he dies to removal here, I pretty much lose this game. I don't remember if I drew another land next, but he goes for his commander, doesn't remove the Stitcher. I do draw a land. Therefore, I think I can use the Stitcher. I'll draw a card, probably discard Zetalpa with him. And then we've got a 4/8 indestructible flying vigilance. Something else probably coming out in turn 5, which is pretty killer considering how he's an 8 mana card. So the opponent, now all of his legendary spells will cost 1 less at the moment. So if he plays a land, he can play a 6-drop for super cheap. So he goes for an Oath of Kaya. This is what makes me think, okay, it's a Planeswalker deck. And that's kind of scary. I'll take the 3 damage from Oath of Kaya and then from Kethis, and he will mulch. I don't even really know what that did, but he got a land. Okay, so I got my other land. If I didn't catch the land here, I could have used the Stitcher, but I'll pay 3 life, put that down, and then I will just draw again to see if there's another option. Discard my other big boy, but as good as Toxrill would be on the battlefield, we're going to bring out Zetalpa with haste. So I can swing in for 4, double strike, and the vigilance means I got the biggest, most indestructible blocker you could imagine. So we're in a really good position. As turn 5, we drop a Zetalpa. Turn 6 for the opponent. Turn 5 for the opponent. Unless he missed a land drop too. I can't remember. He's thinking, and he's got 6 mana available. So eventually he will do something. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a Vorinclex. So Vorinclex, again, I think, okay, yeah, he's setting up to do some massive Planeswalker stuff. With the double counters that come from a Vorinclex, you can put a commander, or sorry, a Planeswalker on the battlefield and immediately ultimate most Planeswalkers. Crazy to see Vorinclex come down and not attack because there's really no point. I would kill it. So here I had a few I think what I should have done is use the bone shards to kill Vorinclex, because like I'm saying, you can drop a Planeswalker and ultimate it, which really could have been the end of me. I think I got greedy going for this Shieldred, so I discarded the Shieldred to my graveyard, and then I thought, okay, we'll attack, see what happens, and then I'll recur the Shieldred back onto the battlefield. He would have to sacrifice a creature on his upkeep, but I'm thinking now, in hindsight, he sacks the Kethis, obviously. He told me good game there, and I remember thinking, like, fuck, does that mean that he is about to drop a Planeswalker and just win the game? Because there are some out there like Liliana, all sorts of killer Planeswalkers that would just basically destroy my board states, something that I wouldn't want to have happen. So he attacks with his boy. That's when I kind of realized, okay, it's over. And with nothing else he can do, he's got mana. He casts a spell to drop the power on top of one of my creatures. All of them kills him, and I was going to get something back, and it's over. There's absolutely no coming back from that. It's a top of turn 5. And okay, so game 3. I guess this is another questionable keep. I'm looking at card draw from the Esper Sentinel, and the learn mechanic is great in this deck off of the Eye Twitch. You obviously can't pull lesson cards out of your sideboard and brawl, but I can use the discard draw side of it to my advantage. Since I have those 2 plays, I will give this a go. Esper Sentinel comes out first in case he's going to drop any 1-drop or 2-drop non-creature spells. So the Fabled Passage is a nice draw. I really needed to hit some lands here early. So we'll attack in, get the Eye Twitch out there. Now that learn mechanic happens when he dies, but obviously he's in here for a couple ways I could sack him, but also mainly just a body that blocks and then gets me a discard. Okay, so he doesn't do anything turn 3, just a foretell. I will play my 3rd land, coming for 2 more damage. Slow start for him and me, although I don't know what he's foretelling. So turn 3, there is Esper Sentinel going to get me a card. That's awesome. Growing Rites of Idlamok. Not a good spell for me to see, but at least the Esper gets me a card off of that, and that is pretty dope. So he's got a Lotus Cobra. That's cool. Well, if I can turn this Fabled Passage into a swamp, then we're definitely going to get that Rankle? Is that his name? Rankle. Master of Frankles. Get him out there, his haste, boom, boom, pow, and I will discard a card for sure. Didn't want to give him the card, so I didn't draw, but I'll put one of these big creatures in my graveyard. We'll come back later. I actually don't use that guy very often. Xanthanos, or whatever his name is. He can really go off, but I've been shifting the deck to more ETB creatures, so that at least I know they'll have effect the first time they come in, even if they get removed. So he's probably going to get cut. He hasn't done a heck of a lot for me. So Lotus Cobra comes out. That's cool. I can make you sack a creature. I have the Eye Twitch that I want to sack. So it's going to be attack with the team. He could have decided to trade the Lotus Cobra for the Esper Sentinel if he knew what I was up to. Obviously, I'm going to make him sack a creature. So misplay maybe by the opponent there. So here, I think I figure all 3. Just go for it. Just go all 3. No, not yet. I wasn't ready to do it. Okay, it must have been next time that I went all 3. So I sack my Twitch. Here is when I can discard a card, but I chose not to. Anyway, getting rid of the Twitch is a huge plus. Good trade getting rid of the Lotus Cobra on their side, because he can go off like crazy. Not quite sure what this Volo deck was trying to do. If he had like a lot of land matters going on as well. But Thankfully, I don't think we actually had to find out. So again, he's put himself out there. I've got a creature to sack, which will make him sack Volo. I don't think he's really realizing how bad Rankle's going to be for him. This was a weird one. I didn't want to discard my land and my Cold Steel thingamajig, so I'll get rid of the Meat Hook because I don't really think I'm going to need it in this game. So I have another land here to play for turn. Might just attack with Rankle first. No point in attacking with the Sentinel. I kept up the dive down, perfect use for that, plus Esper hits for another card. He tries to send Rankle back to my hand. I say no to that. And you are going to sack your guy. I think at this point I decide to just hit all 3 modes. Maybe I'm wrong. I should have been going for that 1 extra life probably against him every turn, except, you know, then you're giving him a card. Oh, I did that him. I did all 3. And that's probably the best play. Try to speed things up. There's one thing I was worried about him having blue is some sort of like River's Rebuke, or I don't know. There's crazy spells that he could have hit me back with here. And I'll get this out here. I think I choose the blue. This gives me a chance to get my Dream Trawler out there. So he's coming out going low with a Scoot Swarm. Low and wide against my Flyer. He's got a Foretold card and 2 gold cards in hand. Okay, make that 1 card in hand. The Mammoth comes out. And there's a 7th land. Pretty sure the Dream Trawler is the play here. Nothing big enough in the graveyard or anything that's going to have an impact that I can pull out. So yeah, Dream Trawler is going to go down. I could have flashed in Chromium, but he actually doesn't make many appearances. He's like a late game flashy. He has a little bit of discard too to give himself hexproof, so that's actually some crazy synergy in that as well. When he does come down, he makes a difference, but he's usually not what we're going for. So I'm just trying to make sure I get the right play here. Dream Trawler does come down. So the Dream Trawler is amazing as well in this deck. He has a way to give himself hexproof. He's lifelink, he's drawing cards, but also you discard to give himself hexproof. And there's times when I need discard, like need to get a Toxrill or Shieldred out of my hand and into my graveyard. Anyway, so Thassa comes down and he tries to use Mystic Reflection on my Dream Trawler, but Dream Trawler has a built-in way to give himself hexproof. So I'm going to discard Edgar's Awakening, and when you discard Edgar's Awakening, you can pay a black to return a creature card to your hand. Xanathar could come back from the graveyard, so I just take a little one in case this game does continue. But at this point, I think we all know the game is over. His little trick didn't work. I've got lethal in the air, and he's going to swing out and probably just concede right away. For sure. Awesome. So that was a little bit of a longer game. Had to fight through a couple of removal spells attempted, but hexproof from the dive down and from the Dream Trawler. So that's awesome, guys. Thanks for watching.